The alien fleet of the Varkul Dominion had never known fear. For centuries they had conquered worlds, burned cities, and broken armies like toys. But the day they faced the humans, something changed. Commander Zirak stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the battlefield through the holographic display. The planet below, a small blue world called Terran 5, was supposed to be an easy victory. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped. Yet somehow, they refused to surrender. Blaster fire lit the dark sky. Explosions echoed through the ruins. Alien troops marched in perfect lines while human soldiers hid behind broken walls, returning fire with everything they had. Zirak frowned. Their bodies are weak. Their technology is primitive. Why do they not fall? His science officer hissed. Perhaps they are driven by emotion, Commander. Rage or fear. Fear? Zirak's voice turned sharp. Then why do I feel it here? He pressed a hand to his chest. For the first time in years, he felt uncertainty. Down on the ground, Corporal Daniel Reeve was bleeding badly. A plasma bolt had torn through his armor and scorched his side. He pressed his hand to the wound. Blood poured out between his fingers. But still he grinned. "Medic!" someone yelled. Daniel waved them off. "No time. Keep pushing forward." The aliens expected him to fall. Instead, Daniel loaded another magazine, raised his rifle, and charged. The aliens hesitated. They could see it. The red fluid leaking from his body. To them, it looked like life itself spilling out. Any sane being would stop, retreat, or die. But this one kept fighting. A Varkul soldier shouted in panic, "Commander, they are wounded, but they keep coming. Their fluids are escaping, and they fight harder." Zirak's head snapped toward the screen. "Show me!" The live feed zoomed in. Human after human, torn, bleeding, limping, refused to fall. One was missing an arm, still firing. Another had burns across half her face, yet she smiled as she threw a grenade. Zirak stepped back, his scales rippling with unease. "They leak," he whispered. "They leak and do not die." His second officer trembled. "Commander, and could it be a weapon? Some form of chemical warfare?" Zirak didn't answer. His mind raced. On every world the Varkul had conquered, blood meant weakness. When fluid flowed, life ended. But these creatures, these humans, were different. They bled and grew angrier. They bled and fought harder. What kind of monsters were they? Daniel ducked behind a fallen wall, panting. His vision blurred, his armor was cracked, and he could feel warm blood running down his side. He laughed softly. "Still alive? Guess that's something." Over his comm, his squad leader's voice came through. "Reeve, you're hit bad. Fall back." "Not yet," Daniel replied. "They're afraid. I can see it." He peeked over the wall. The aliens were backing up, whispering to one another. "They think bleeding means dying," he murmured. "Let's teach them otherwise." He rose again, rifle ready, and shouted, "You wanted a fight? Come and get it." High above, Commander Zirak's claws dug into the control rail. "Withdraw," he growled. The bridge crew froze. "Commander?" "I said withdraw. We regroup and study them further. No one engages the leaking ones without my command." For the first time in Varkul history, the Dominion retreated from a battlefield. Zirak stared at the human on the screen, bloodied, smiling, alive. In that moment, he understood one terrifying truth. Humans were not built to survive. They were built to endure, and endurance was something no alien empire could destroy. The Varkul fleet drifted in silent orbit above Theron 5. Their ships, once symbols of conquest, now felt like cages. Inside the flagship, Iron Fang, Commander Zirak stood before the great observation window, watching the blue planet spin slowly below. He had seen death before. He had caused it on 100 worlds, but he had never seen soldiers who kept fighting while their bodies were breaking apart. The humans were not supposed to win. They were fragile, soft. Yet when they bled, something inside them ignited. a storm of defiance. Zirak turned to his science officer, Dr. Khizar. "Report," he demanded. Khizar's frills quivered nervously. "Commander, we have studied their biology from captured samples. The red fluid they leak, it is called blood. It carries oxygen through their bodies. When it escapes, it should mean death." "Should?" Zirak repeated slowly. "Yes, Commander. And yet, they continue to function for long periods after injury. Even when losing large amounts of blood, they remain mobile and aggressive. Some even fight harder, as if pain fuels their rage." Zirak's eyes narrowed. "You are telling me they grow stronger as they die?" Khizar swallowed. "In a way, yes." The command bridge went silent. Even the hum of machinery seemed to fade. Across the war room, a young Varkul soldier whispered, "Maybe they enjoy pain." Another shivered. "Maybe the red fluid is not weakness, but power." Zirak slammed his clawed fist on the table. "Enough! You sound like hatchlings fearing shadows." But even he could not shake the chill creeping into his chest. "Prepare new scans," he ordered. "I want every detail of their biology, every weakness. There must be a way to stop these creatures before they bleed us dry." Down on Terran 5, the humans regrouped. The alien bombardment had stopped. For the first time in weeks, the skies were quiet. Corporal Daniel Reeves sat on a broken wall, his armor patched with makeshift tape, his side still bandaged. He stared at the stars, knowing the aliens were still up there, watching. His squad leader, Sergeant Vance, walked over. "They pulled back. You scared the hell out of them, Reeve." Daniel smirked. "Guess they don't like red." Vance chuckled, then grew serious. "Command says we're moving out tomorrow. Counterattack operation. They want to push back before the lizards regroup." Daniel nodded. "Good. Let's finish what we started." Meanwhile, in orbit, Khizar played back battle footage. One clip showed Daniel, wounded, covered in blood, yet still fighting. Khizar whispered, "How can a creature lose so much life and still live?" He enhanced the image, the human's face, twisted in pain but burning with determination. It wasn't madness. It was will. Zirak approached behind him. "Tell me, Doctor, can they be broken?" Khizar hesitated. "Physically, yes, but mentally?" He paused. "I believe these creatures are built to suffer and survive it." Zirak turned away, his voice low. "Then we are fighting something far worse than we imagined." Hours later, the first human ships launched from the surface, small, fast, and furious. They didn't have superior technology. They didn't have more soldiers. But they had something else. Revenge. The Varkul sensors blared alarms. "Commander, human vessels incoming. They are damaged, but advancing at full speed." Zirak stared at the tactical map. They were charging, even though their ships were barely holding together. Even now, some of them were leaking fluids from ruptured hulls. "They fight even when their machines bleed," Zirak whispered in disbelief. The bridge fell silent again. No one dared to speak. No one dared to breathe. For the first time in Varkul history, the hunters realized they had become the prey. The silence of space shattered. Human ships, small, damaged, and furious, burst through the clouds of Terran 5 like sparks from a dying fire. Their engines roared even as smoke poured from their hulls. Commander Zirak watched from the bridge of the Iron Fang, disbelief tightening his chest. "They're attacking us again," he muttered. "Their vessels are breaking apart. Yet they charge," a crew officer hissed nervously. "Commander, they are not retreating. Their hulls are venting atmosphere and still they advance." Zirak's eyes widened. "They leak even in space." Down below, inside one of those dying ships, Corporal Daniel Reeve tightened his helmet and checked his rifle. The cabin was half destroyed, oxygen thin, alarms blaring. "Stay sharp," he said through his comm. "Once we're in, we don't stop." His team nodded. They weren't supposed to survive this mission, but that didn't matter. Humanity had been hunted long enough. It was time to strike back. "Docking sequence ready," the pilot shouted. Breach in 10 seconds. The ship slammed against the Iron Fang's hull with a violent crash. Metal screeched. The humans burst through the airlock in a storm of smoke and gunfire. On the alien bridge, alarms flared red. "Commander, the leaking ones are boarding us." Zirak spun around. "Impossible. No one can breach a Varkul battleship." But the screens told a different story. 6 human soldiers, bleeding, coughing, covered in burns, were inside the ship's corridors. They moved like ghosts, fearless and fast. Each drop of red that hit the floor only seemed to make them more determined. Zirak snarled, "Seal the lower decks, I want them contained." Dr. Khizar watched the footage in terror. Every instinct in his body screamed to run, yet his scientific curiosity chained him to the monitor. He zoomed in on one of the humans, Daniel. His armor was broken, one arm shaking from blood loss, but his eyes burned with light. Khizar whispered, "It doesn't make sense. They should be collapsing. The oxygen loss, the pain." Another officer interrupted, panic in his voice. "Doctor, they don't collapse, they grow stronger. Their heart rate increases, their movements accelerate. What are they?" Khizar stared at the screen, his voice trembling. "They are bloodborne." Meanwhile, Daniel's squad pushed through the corridors. Alien bodies lay scattered behind them. Vents dripped with plasma burns. Every breath hurt, every wound burned, but they kept going. "Command wants us to take the control core," Vance said. "That'll cripple their fleet." Daniel nodded. "Then let's finish this before they understand what we are." They reached the core chamber, a massive circular room glowing with blue light. But standing between them and victory was Zirak himself. The alien commander's voice rumbled through the chamber. "Human, why do you not die?" Daniel stepped forward, helmet cracked, blood streaking down his cheek. "Because dying's easy," he said calmly. "Enduring isn't." Zirak raised his weapon, claws shaking. "You bleed, yet you live. What kind of creature are you?" Daniel smiled faintly. "The kind that doesn't stop." The battle was brutal. Aliens with energy blades, humans with rifles and fury. Smoke filled the chamber. When it cleared, Zirak stood wounded, and Daniel barely standing, blood covering his armor. The human lifted his weapon one last time. "For Earth," he whispered. The core exploded in light. In the aftermath, the Iron Fang drifted powerless through space. Zirak survived barely. His ship was scarred, his army broken. He stared at the wreckage and whispered to himself, "They bleed, but they do not die. They are born of blood and war. We fought gods wearing fragile flesh." From that day forward, among the Varkul, humans were no longer called humans. They were called the Bloodborne, beings who leaked life itself and turned it into power. Weeks passed after the fall of the Iron Fang. The Varkul Dominion, once proud and unstoppable, was silent. Their fleets drifted through empty space, afraid to face another human battle group. Inside the damaged flagship, Commander Zirak lay in the medical chamber, wrapped in regeneration tubes. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw them. The humans. Their broken bodies, their blood, their smiles. He woke from nightmares screaming, "They leak but do not die." The healers exchanged worried glances. A commander of 1,000 victories now feared 6 wounded humans. The Varkul government tried to hide the truth. They said the defeat was a tactical withdrawal. But rumors spread faster than light. Cargo ships whispered it in spaceports. Pirates repeated it on shadow networks. By the end of the month, every species in the sector had heard the same terrifying phrase, "The Bloodborne have risen." No one knew exactly who they were. Some said they were human soldiers. Others claimed they were ancient demons in human skin. But all agreed on one thing. When the Bloodborne bleed, you run. In the Tarkin system, an alien traitor told the tale to a room full of mercenaries. "They say the humans keep their hearts outside their bodies," he hissed. "They spill their life fluid to gain strength." Another alien laughed nervously. "That's impossible. No being can survive such loss." The traitor leaned closer. "Then explain why the Varkul fleet fled. 1,000 warships, defeated by 6 leaking humans." The laughter stopped. Even mercenaries who had fought for decades sat in silence, eyes darting. No one wanted to find out if the story was true. Back on Earth, the humans were rebuilding. The victory came at a heavy cost, but morale was high. For the first time in history, alien empires looked at humanity with fear, not pity. Corporal Daniel Reeve was recovering in a hospital bed. His side was scarred, his armor gone, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. Visitors from every nation came to thank him. He didn't see himself as a hero, just a survivor. When asked about the battle, he always said the same thing. We didn't fight because we were fearless, we fought because we had no choice. But the galaxy didn't hear that part. They only heard the legend. Far across the stars, in a dark fortress on a distant moon, the Varkul High Council met. The chamber glowed with cold light. Holograms of alien generals filled the air. Zirak, his body still healing, stood before them. They are not demons, he said quietly. They are worse. Worse, hissed the council head. Zirak nodded. They are creatures who make weakness their weapon. When they are hurt, they fight harder. When they lose blood, they become fire. We do not understand them, and that is our greatest danger. The council murmured nervously. What do you suggest? Zirak's eyes glowed faintly. Learn from them, or destroy them before they come for us again. Meanwhile, in a small research station orbiting the ruins of Theron 5, a team of alien scientists studied human blood samples. One of them, Dr. Rel, stared at the microscope, voice trembling. This fluid, it heals, it fights infection, it carries energy unlike anything we've seen. He looked up, eyes wide. If this is what flows inside them, then maybe they were made to survive every war. His assistant stepped back. You mean, they're not just fighters? Dr. Rel nodded slowly. They are the universe's answer to extinction. By the next solar cycle, every military in the galaxy had one standing order. If you see a human bleeding, do not engage. Posters appeared on space stations, warnings on alien channels. Some said it was myth. Others swore they'd seen it themselves. The words became a galactic proverb. When the blood-borne leak, run before you drown. But on Earth, no one knew they had become legends. Humanity simply trained harder, repaired their fleets, and prepared for whatever was coming next. Because they knew something the galaxy didn't. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. The stars looked peaceful, but peace was a lie. Above Earth, the United Human Command Fleet orbited in silence. Thousands of ships, scarred but unbroken, held their position. A silent testament to a recent, brutal war. Inside the flagship, the Valiant Dawn, General Arya Cole stood before the massive view window, her eyes fixed on the endless dark. She wasn't watching the stars. She was listening to the galaxy. Reports had been flooding in from every corner of the known universe. Every alien broadcast, every intercepted transmission, carried the same story. The blood-born of Earth, the monsters who bleed red and rise again. At first, humanity had laughed it off. A bizarre rumor, a strange misunderstanding from the species who had never seen blood like theirs. But soon, the laughter died, replaced by a growing unease. Because fear was a seed that could grow into a forest of war. General Arya turned from the window to face her officers. They think we're creatures of death, she said, her voice quiet but firm. They fear our blood. They call us demons. Commander Vance, a soldier who had fought alongside the legendary Daniel Reeve, crossed his arms. Maybe fear's not a bad thing, ma'am. It keeps them at a distance. Arya shook her head, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes. Fear unites enemies, Commander. They'll band together to destroy what they don't understand. We can't let that happen. She strode to the holo table, her hand swiping across its surface. A glowing projection of the galaxy materialized in the air. A red circle pulsed in the center, the Varkul Dominion's core worlds. This is where it began, she declared. This is where we end it. On the screen, 2 words blinked into existence. Operation Iron Resolve. Half a galaxy away, Varkul Commander Zirak listened to those same intercepted human transmissions. He recognized Arya's voice. Calm, strong, focused. She was the kind of leader even his own soldiers respected. The scientist, Dr. Khizar, paced nervously beside him. They're planning something. They call it Iron Resolve. What if they're coming for us again? Xeric stared at the data, the reports of human resilience, their unnerving ability to endure. If they come, he said grimly, we face extinction. He clenched his claws. But perhaps we can use their own legend against them. He sent a priority message to the Galactic Council. Prepare the fleets. The Bloodborne are rising once more. Back on Earth, in a quiet medical facility, Corporal Daniel Reeve watched raindrops race down a window pane. His reflection stared back, the faint scar on his side a constant reminder of the battle on Terran 5. The battle that had started it all. His comlink chimed. It was Arya. Reeve, I need you back. The galaxy fears what you are. Let's show them what humanity truly is. A faint, weary smile touched his lips. I never wanted to be a symbol. Now you are one, Arya's voice replied, warm but resolute. Let's make it count. Days later, the human fleet tore through hyperspace, but their mission wasn't destruction. It was a demonstration. They weren't heading for the Varkal core worlds to attack. Their destination was a remote Varkal colony, besieged by pirates. Arya's plan was audacious, a gamble on the galaxy's conscience. Show mercy where everyone expected monsters. Prove that humans bled not for power, but for each other. The battle was pure chaos. Pirate cruisers swarmed the colony world. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace right into the middle of the assault, their ships battered but brave. Daniel's strike team dropped through the atmosphere, landing in the heart of the fire. His voice crackled over the comms, a command that cut through the noise of battle. Protect the civilians. Form a perimeter. Varkul citizens, cowering in their shelters, stared in disbelief. The same species they had been taught to fear, the Bloodborne, were fighting and dying to defend them. Human soldiers bled, they were burned, but they kept getting back up. A young Varkul child watched as a human medic, bleeding from a shrapnel wound in her arm, quickly patched her own injury before rushing to help the child's injured father. The child's eyes went wide. You're leaking, she whispered in terror and awe. The medic just smiled. Yeah, it means I'm alive. When the battle ended, the pirate ships were scrap metal and cosmic dust. The humans didn't linger to claim victory. They left supplies, medics, and a single clear message broadcast on an open channel. We bleed for peace, not for power. Footage of the battle spread like wildfire across galactic networks. Every alien who had once feared the Bloodborne now saw something else entirely. Not monsters, but saviors. The red fluid that had once symbolized horror now looked like sacrifice. On his command bridge, Xeric watched the reports in stunned silence. Khizar approached him carefully. Commander, what are we to make of this? Xeric's voice was quiet, filled with a newfound understanding. They bleed for others, even for their enemies. We called them monsters, but maybe they are what this universe needs. He turned off the screen. Perhaps the Bloodborne are not a curse. Perhaps they are hope. Aboard the Valiant Dawn, Arya stood with Daniel watching the stars drift by. Do you think they'll ever stop fearing us? He asked. Arya offered a faint smile. Maybe. But fear isn't the worst thing, Daniel. Sometimes, given time, fear can become respect. As the fleet sailed on, humanity's legend was being rewritten, from a tale of terror to a testament of courage. The Bloodborne were no longer creatures of war. They had become guardians of the galaxy. Peace never lasts forever. Months after Operation Iron Resolve, the galaxy had begun to calm. The name Bloodborne was no longer spoken with terror, but with a strange kind of respect. Trade ships from distant species entered human space. Alliances formed. Hope returned. But deep within the Khizar dominion, a shadow was growing. The Khizar had watched everything. The fear, the chaos, the legend, and they had learned something dangerous. Fear was power. In a cold war chamber hidden beneath a dead moon, High Strategist Lorvac addressed his generals. "The galaxy bows to the humans," he hissed. "They call them heroes, but heroes can be turned into monsters again." He displayed holographic footage, scenes of bleeding humans fighting, taken from the Varkul archives. "Every story, every rumor. We will use it. We will make the galaxy fear them once more." A general tilted his head. "How?" Lorvac smiled coldly. "By creating new bloodborne." Weeks later, across several border colonies, chaos erupted. Unknown soldiers, wearing human armor, attacked civilian outposts. They killed without mercy, leaving trails of red fluid and symbols of Earth's flag. The broadcast spread instantly. "Humans have turned on us. The bloodborne are no longer guardians. They've become executioners." Panic returned. Planets shut their borders. Alliances collapsed overnight. On Earth, General Arya Cole slammed her fist on the command table. "This isn't us," she shouted. "Someone is framing humanity." Commander Vance nodded. "The attacks are too clean, too fast. Someone's trying to make the galaxy believe we've gone rogue." Corporal Daniel Reeves, standing nearby, clenched his fists. "They took everything we fought for and turned it into a lie." Arya looked at him. "Then we take the truth back." The humans launched a covert mission, Operation Ghostlight. Their goal: find the source of the false attacks and expose whoever was behind them. Daniel led a small strike team deep into Khizar space disguised as traitors. Their ship was old, slow, and unarmed, perfect for blending in. During the journey, his teammate Lyra, a Varkul defector, spoke softly. "The Khizar feed on fear. They twist it. If they control your legend, they control the galaxy's mind." Daniel nodded. "Then it's time we take our legend back." After days of travel, they reached a hidden station orbiting a dark planet. Inside, they found rows of cloned soldiers, copies of humans, artificial skin, red liquid pumping through their veins, and lifeless eyes. Lyra whispered in horror. "They built fake bloodborne." Daniel stared, anger burning in his chest. "They're using our image to destroy everything we built." Suddenly, alarms blared. Khizar guards poured into the lab. Blaster fire erupted, shadows flashing with red and blue light. Daniel's team fought fiercely, but the numbers were overwhelming. As he covered Lyra's retreat, a plasma bolt hit his shoulder, blood spilling down his arm. One guard shouted in fear, "He's leaking! He's one of them!" The others froze, stepping back. Daniel grinned through the pain. "You wanted the bloodborne. Here we are." He threw a grenade and ran, explosions lighting the station like fire in the void. Back on the Valiant Dawn, Arya watched the mission feed. The moment the footage showed the Khizar's cloning experiments, she ordered it broadcast across the galactic network. Every race saw the truth. The fake humans, the deception, the lies. The galaxy erupted again, but this time, not in fear. In rage. Khizar fleets burned under united fire. Varkul, Tarkan, even neutral systems joined humanity in the counterattack. The truth had set the bloodborne free once more. After the battle, Daniel stood on the scorched ground of the Khizar homeworld. He looked at the ruins, then at the rising sun. Lyra stepped beside him. "Your people bleed, yet you heal the stars," she said quietly. Daniel smiled faintly. "Maybe bleeding's just our way of reminding the universe we're still alive." Far above, Arya transmitted one final message to all allied worlds. "We are not monsters. We are not demons. We are human. We fight. We bleed. We endure, not for power, but for peace." And across 1,000 systems, those words echoed. Stronger than fear, stronger than war. The galaxy finally understood. The bloodborne were never cursed. They were the heart of humanity. The galaxy was finally quiet. The fires of the Khizar War had faded, and for the first time in generations the stars looked peaceful again. But peace is fragile, and the universe always tests those who fight for it. In the orbit of the neutral world Vastora, the great galactic summit was being held. Every major species gathered to sign the Treaty of Unity. It was humanity's moment to prove that they were no longer monsters, but protectors. General Arya Cole walked through the shining halls of the Vastora Citadel, her uniform decorated with silver streaks of honor. She glanced around at the alien leaders, once enemies, now allies. For a moment, she allowed herself to breathe. Beside her, Corporal Daniel Reeve moved slowly, still recovering from old wounds. He smiled. Never thought I'd see this day. Arya nodded. Neither did I. But we earned it, drop by drop. The ceremony began. Voices from dozens of species echoed through the grand chamber. Each leader spoke of sacrifice, unity, and the strange courage of humanity. When it was Arya's turn, she stepped forward and said softly, "We were once feared because we bled, but now the galaxy knows. Our blood is not a sign of weakness. It's a reminder that we live, we feel, and we never stop fighting for peace." Applause filled the hall. Even the stoic Varkul bowed their heads in respect. But in the shadows above, danger was already watching. High above Vastora, a forgotten Khizar warship drifted silently. Its last surviving captain, Lorvak, refused to surrender. He glared at the planet below. "They made us villains," he growled, "then let the galaxy drown in the blood of their heroes." His ship began charging a hidden weapon, a planetary disruptor powerful enough to destroy the summit in one blast. On the surface, human scanners detected the energy surge too late. "Sir, unidentified signal above the atmosphere," shouted a technician. Arya turned sharply. "Source? Old Khizar vessel. It's powering up something massive." Daniel's eyes widened. "They're going to hit the summit." Without hesitation, Arya looked at him. "Can your ship fly?" He grinned. "Barely, but it'll fly far enough." Minutes later, Daniel's old strike ship, the same one that had breached the Iron Fang years ago, shot into the sky. Its engines screamed, its hull cracked, but it climbed like a phoenix. On board, Daniel activated his comms. "General, if this thing goes off, it'll wipe out half the system." Arya's voice came back, breaking slightly. "You don't have to do this." Daniel smiled faintly. "Yeah, I do. That's what Bloodborne do, right? We bleed so others don't have to." He pushed the throttle to maximum. The Khizar warship appeared before him. Dark, wounded, still dangerous. Daniel locked the course, ignoring the alarms screaming in his cockpit. Lorvak's voice came over the comm, filled with hate. "You humans never learn. You cannot kill what is already broken." Daniel laughed softly. "You're right, but we can still try." He slammed the ship straight into the Khizar vessel's core. A blinding light filled the void. From Vastora's surface, everyone looked up as the sky turned white. Then, silence. No explosion reached the ground, no shockwave followed. Only a single burning streak of light fell gently toward the horizon, like a dying star. Arya whispered, "Daniel." Days later, the summit resumed. Humanity led the signing of the Treaty of Unity. Arya placed her signature last and raised her gaze to the stars. She said quietly, "One man's blood saved 1,000 worlds. Remember his name, for he showed us what being human truly means." Every alien in the chamber stood in silence, and from that day onward the galaxy honored him. Daniel Reeve, the last Bloodborne. Centuries later, children across the stars told the story, not as a tale of war, but of endurance. They said that when humanity bled, they didn't fall. They lit the stars. And somewhere, among those same stars, the light of that final sacrifice still burned. Steady, red, and eternal.